Yo guys, what is up? We are back with another review, and I told you I'll be back. Like, I know I disappeared for 7 months the last time I said I'd be back, but I told you I'll be back, and I'm back the very next day. And today we are back in the current timeline once again, and we are reviewing TNA Final Resolution. Now, a little bit of a disclaimer here first. I have not been watching TNA as regularly as I would like to. I'm talking about the actual Impact product, the weekly show. That's because they took it off YouTube a while ago, and I don't have the courage to pay all that money to watch TNA right now. But I still did watch this pay-per-view because I had to do a review for you guys. So I've been keeping up, but not watching the product, if that makes sense. So everything I say here, take it with a pinch of salt. But from here on out, I will be keeping up with the product more regularly so that my reviews are perfect. With that being said, the very first match of the night was Moose, the current X Division champion, taking on KUSHIDA for the X Division title. Now, first thing I want to say is, I'm not sure that I'm a fan of Moose as the X Division champion. I'm not sure. Like I say, haven't watched the product that much, but something about Moose being the X Division champion just doesn't feel right, man. Maybe that's just me. Let me know what you guys think. Do you like Moose as the X Division champion? I do see he's throwing around some odd wording that he is going to create his own X Division. So I don't know what he means by that, but we'll see what happens with that in the coming weeks on Impact. But let's get into the match. So early on in the match, Moose actually power bombed KUSHIDA onto the apron, and that left KUSHIDA on the floor. This is like very early on because the match started really hot. KUSHIDA's left on the floor. Moose climbs in. Ref starts doing his count. It seems like KUSHIDA's not getting up at all. And I'm like, count out victory so early? No. But Moose stops the ref. Moose climbs out, looks for maybe a spear, kind of like what Braun Breaker does, or some sort of attack like that where he goes around the ring and then goes towards KUSHIDA. But KUSHIDA gets out the way, and then Moose hits the steel steps. Now, this took me out of the match. Because it was quite clear KUSHIDA was not getting up. And number one, Moose looks really stupid now. Number two, clearly KUSHIDA is not good enough to beat Moose if he is down and out in the first couple minutes. And that just put me off this match entirely. I don't know why. These things don't usually happen. Like, I don't usually just get put off a match by one little thing early on. But for some reason, the rest of the match just didn't hit the way it should have, unfortunately. But anyway, we move on. KUSHIDA then worked the arm of Moose because obviously Moose went into the steel steps the whole match, which slowed Moose down, didn't allow him to get his usual power offense off, and I suppose even the playing field a little bit more, and I suppose that's why KUSHIDA was competitive thereafter. But then Moose actually went for a springboard attack of some sort. I don't know what this man was trying to do, like some sort of Cody cutter or something. I don't know. But KUSHIDA then avoided the attack and then locked in his hoverboard lock, which obviously targets the arm of Moose. And Moose just barely was able to get to the ropes to break the hold. But again, KUSHIDA showing his technical offense. We all know KUSHIDA is technically one of the better wrestlers out there, and he was showing it here with his work on Moose's arm. But Moose then landed a nice drop kick to KUSHIDA, and then KUSHIDA goes for a springboard attack of some sort, a handspring springboard attack. But then Moose lands a drop kick, sending KUSHIDA flying. And then this allowed Moose to then land his spear and get the win 1-2-3 over KUSHIDA. Yeah, I always felt Moose was going to retain, even though the beginning piece happened, because you'd always think when a story or a moment like that happens where the heel makes a mistake like that, the face would often come back and capitalize and actually get the win in that situation. But that wasn't the case here. For some reason, whoa, I'm kicking my camera around here. Damn, guys, that's not a good look. But for some reason, it just always felt like Moose was gonna get the win. And I don't know, Moose just came across very silly. The match quality was still good, so I kind of, when it came to my rating, I did keep that in account. Because I thought maybe I was just overreacting. So the match quality was still decent, so I gave it a 3-star rating at the end of the day, because I thought to myself, the quality of this match is not worth It's not average. This is slightly above average. Therefore, it deserves that rating. But yeah, Moose retains his X Division Championship, and we then move on to the very next match, which was, like I say, I don't know the context behind this match, and I feel like there wasn't too much context, but you guys let me know. Maybe there was. We had PCO and Sami Callihan taking on Jake Something and what should have been Hammerstone, but Hammerstone got injured, versus the Rascalz, which is obviously Zachary Wentz and Trey Miguel. Now, I knew what to expect from this match. Okay, firstly, let's talk about Hammerstone getting injured. Hammerstone gets injured, and now that leaves Jake Something to go alone in this match. Go completely, so it's basically 2v2v1 in this match. And I was like, okay, that could be an interesting story to then build off of. You know, Jake Something could be his dominant self, but unfortunately the numbers get to him. And I suppose that is what they did in this match, because we'll find out later on, Jake Something was the one that ate the pin in this match, which kind of does make sense. He is alone. I'm not sure I wanted Jake Something to take the pin, because I think Jake Something can be used in a potentially main event role one day. I honestly think that. I don't know if he ever has been before, because like I say, trying to get back into TNA, but I do think he could be at that level one day. So yeah, Zachary and Callihan start off the match. Typical tag team work there. Jake Something obviously needs to tag himself in because he's alone on the side. PCO and Callihan show their dominance early on as they build like some heavy heat onto Trey Miguel. Trey then gets a tag to Zachary, while Sami is then forced to tag in Jake Something because it was the closest man to him, and I think PCO might have been down at that point. So he had to tag in his opponent. And then we get a pretty awesome exchange between Jake Something and Zachary Wentz, which doesn't surprise me at all because those two can really work. The match felt pretty slow and sloppy at times. I'm going to be honest. There were moments from PCO and Sami Callihan specifically where I was just like, guys, like fix up. This is looking sloppy. This is looking slow. This is not looking good. This is looking very, very poor, and that wasn't a good look for this match. PCO then lands his PCO salt, which is a moonsault, to the outside on top of everybody, or on top of the Rascalz and Something, obviously not on top of his tag team partner. Jake Something then hits a powerbomb onto everybody in the match. He lands a powerbomb on everybody. I think he even powerbombs either Wentz or Trey Miguel onto each other. And then he powerbombs Sami and he powerbombs PCO. And I was like, this man is an absolute beast right now. And this is how he should be booked. Jake Something honestly could go very far. Then the Rascalz land a double stomp tag team move onto Jake Something. And they actually get the win. The Rascalz got the win in this exchange, which I'm pretty pleased about because they're the Rascalz. They are so entertaining, whether it's on the mic, in the ring. They are super, super entertaining. They tried to do something under the circumstances with Jake Something. Well, something under the circumstances with Jake Something. That is a tongue twister if there ever was one. But it just didn't work. I feel something was missing, and probably it was Hammerstone was missing. Post-match, though, we had Sami Callihan and PCO show respect to the Rascalz, surprisingly. But then the lights go out, and on the screens behind them, so on the Titantron, it says 23. The number 23. And in a voice that's like just saying, it's just a number. And I'm like, what even is this? what even is this? But I suppose that was the whole point. Like, what is this? So a pretty cool moment there. I'm excited to see what that's all about. But yeah, the match was just underwhelming, I think. It was just a mess without Hammerstone. The dynamic just didn't work. Callihan and PCO were disappointing. So yeah, I gave the match a 2-star rating. It was that poor in my opinion. That poor. So with that being said, let's move on. We then had a match between Trent Seven and Ace Austin. Of course, Ace Austin, part of the ABC with Chris Bay, who unfortunately got pretty badly injured by the sounds of things. So this match, he paid a lot of homage to Chris Bay throughout it. Came out with a Chris Bay shirt, which of course Trent Seven then put to the side. We'll talk about that later on. But yeah, let's get into the match. So Trent Seven was really struggling to keep up with the high speed of Ace Austin, which is understandable because I mean Ace Austin moves at 100 miles per hour at the end of the day, and his unique offense doesn't help with that either. Like he's not doing basic things; he is doing things that only a certain set of people can do in the wrestling world. So that's just one of those things. So Trent was kind of struggling to keep up, but I suppose that is the story behind it as well. Trent Seven came back eventually with some chop after chop after chop throughout the match, absolutely destroying Ace Austin with a bunch of chops. And then Seven uses his power and his ability to break down Trent Seven and I mean Ace Austin, sorry, and then dominate the match. So he broke him down piece by piece, you know, that British wrestling style, and then finally got a little bit of offense on Ace Austin. Trent Seven then goes and grabs the Chris Bay shirt that Ace Austin came out with that we spoke about earlier on in the night, and rips the shirt in half, which is interesting considering how badly hurt Chris Bay is. But I suppose he is a heel. It's what he's supposed to do. This then angers Ace Austin, of course, and gives Ace Austin a second wind in the match. Gives him a nice comeback to the match, which I suppose is a good story to tell then because he was struggling with Trent Seven just dominating and breaking him down, but the emotional side of fighting for his partner and his teammates got him going, which I like. Ace Austin kicked out at one from a pile driver. Was that necessary? I don't think so. I think he could have done this match without that, and it would have been exactly the same. Then Ace Austin finishes the match off by landing the Art of Finesse and then the sweep. So the 1-2, which obviously him and Chris Bay do to normally end their matches, but he did it all by himself tonight and got the win whilst paying homage to Chris Bay. Good match, pretty decent match, pretty average match. When I say good, I mean pretty average match. You know, nothing special, nothing bad at all. Solid work, solid basic work. I think obviously Ace Austin's getting used to working solo again, which is one of the. It is one of those things. He's been working with Chris Bay for so long now, so I suppose he's got to get more and more used to it. It got a bit slow and repetitive at times, I guess, especially when Ace Austin wasn't on the offense. But still a fun watch at the end of the day. So I did give it a 2.75 star rating, which I think is deserved. I'm excited to see what Ace Austin does in the future. I will be honest. Ace Austin is one of those guys that always catches my eye, and I think it's for good reason. So, with that being said, let's move on to the next match. We then had a match between Jordynne Grace and Rosemary. I do not understand the context of this match or why it's happening, but we'll take it as it comes. So, Jordynne Grace looks to end the match early with the Juggernaut, but does not happen, and perhaps she underestimated Rosemary from the start. Then we move on. Rosemary targets the arms of Grace the whole match, which obviously limits Grace's power moves because that is what Jordynne Grace specializes in, her absolute power that she has, which is unlike most female wrestlers, if we're being honest here. Then Jordynne Grace actually lands a nice back fist and goes for the pin. Rosemary definitely didn't kick out, by the way, but the ref said 2, but Rosemary definitely kicked out at 3 or after 3, but we'll leave that for another day. Rosemary then locks in a sleeper hold on the entrance ramp, so they fought their way to the entrance ramp now. Rosemary locks in a sleeper hold, but Grace manages to get up and fall back to force the hold to be let go by Rosemary. So she dropped Rosemary back. You know the usual move. I don't know what the point of letting a sleeper hold is on the entrance ramp, but anyway. Jordynne Grace then lands a muscle buster, so I really like seeing the muscle buster, by the way. I always think of Samoa Joe, obviously, when someone lands a muscle buster. And then goes for the pin, but a woman in a mask takes out the referee before the pin could be completed. Now, who is the masked woman, you may be asking? Well, you probably know by now. Tessa Blanchard is back in TNA. Now, there were rumors flying around the night before that Tessa Blanchard would be going to TNA. And there was also rumors that Jordynne Grace was pushing back on this idea, and she was not a fan of this idea. Well, guess they're going to have a story together, and guess Tessa Blanchard is back in TNA. Now, if you do not know who Tessa Blanchard is, where have you been living? Tessa Blanchard has been accused and cancelled for bullying other wrestlers. There was accusations of racism. And I don't think she ever apologized for any of it or brought it up or spoke about it really. I think she may have just denied the allegations. But basically, she was then outcast from TNA. She was potentially going to WWE. That fell through for obvious reasons. And she's basically just been running the indies and doing some stuff in Mexico for the last 5 years. And she was, let's not forget, the world champion in TNA. Not the Knockouts champion, the world champion. She was fighting against people like the Sami Callihan to win that world title. I don't know if she beat Sami for it, I can't remember. But she was fighting the likes of them for that world title. She was a big star and it all came crashing down for her. Now she's back in TNA. Very, very controversial. Don't know if it's the right thing for TNA to do, but it looks like they're desperate, I guess, in that women's division, especially with, I think, Jordynne Grace leaving to WWE in 2025. This is pure desperation, in my opinion. With that being said, I'm not sure if I gave the match a star rating, but 2.5 stars for the match. Tessa Blanchard at the end just attacked Jordynne Grace, and then we moved on to the next match. We then had a Fatal 4-Way match for a number one contender spot for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. So the winner would basically be facing either AJ Francis or Nic Nemeth at Genesis, which I think is in January, if I'm not mistaken. But in the match, we had Josh Alexander, Joe Hendry, Mike Santana, one of my favorite wrestlers right now, and Steve Maclin. Okay, everybody in this match, in my opinion, deserves an opportunity at the world title. Absolutely everybody. So I don't think there is a wrong answer here. But at the same time, I do think the winner might have been at the bottom of that list. Maybe not a couple months ago, but right now I do think the winner maybe should have been number 4 in that list of who deserves the spot the most. But it's neither here nor there. We'll get into that. So there's quick back and forth action between everybody getting involved with Josh Alexander. So them rolling out the ring, someone coming in, Josh Alexander doing something. Quick action back and forth with Josh Alexander being the main competitor in that action. And then every time someone gets momentum, it is quickly shot down by someone else, which I like. In a Fatal 4-Way match, nobody should have long moments of momentum unless you do it the way Josh Alexander did it, which is he was almost like the final boss in this match, where he was in the ring. He would have moments of action for a couple minutes with, say, Steve Maclin, where he landed some. He gave Steve Maclin this suplex city, 10 suplexes back to back. Then Maclin would roll out, and then in comes Joe Hendry. Back and forth action with Joe Hendry getting some offense in, Josh Alexander getting some offense in. But eventually Josh would land something, and then it would be time for Santana to come in, and Santana would try and get his action. And it really felt like Josh Alexander was the one everyone was trying to beat in this match, which doesn't make sense considering he's the longest TNA World Champion ever. So I really like that dynamic of this match. It made a lot of sense, and I enjoyed it. There was a moment where Alexander landed a nasty-looking German suplex on the ramp onto Steve Maclin. We then had a huge Tower of Doom. I can't remember the order of who was where, but that is always awesome to see. Everybody loves the Tower of Doom, even though it's overdone at times. Then we had a fall-away slam off the top rope onto Alexander by Joe Hendry. So then after some action, Josh Alexander actually tries to tie up Santana to the outside onto like a barricade or something with a zip tie, a very thick zip tie. He really struggles. This took him, I'd say, like 2 minutes to do. He really, really struggles. So that was a bit of an awkward moment in the match. That definitely slowed some things down. But now he made it a triple threat when he finally got the zip tie tied. Which, low blow from Alexander to Maclin. Typical Josh Alexander lately. But Hendry then lands the standing ovation onto Josh Alexander and gets the pin over his rival for the last while, and now he will be facing the champion. I will be honest, the crowd was super behind Joe Hendry. Lots of "We Believe" chants throughout the whole match. Probably deserved chants. Really, really good match. Match of the night, in my opinion. I think they managed to make a Fatal 4-Way a little bit more interesting than the usual stuff that we see in Fatal 4-Ways. So I really, really enjoyed this match. Let me know what you guys thought of this match. We then had a Falls Count Anywhere match for the I was going to say AEW, for the TNA Knockouts World Championship between the champion Masha Slamovich taking on the former champ or a former champion Tasha Steelz. Now, before the match starts, Santino Marella comes out and bans Alicia Edwards from ringside. Alicia Edwards is obviously affiliated now with with Tasha Steelz. And he then brings out security to avoid the system from getting involved in any way as well. Tasha then, the match starts and Tasha reverses a suplex by Masha and lands a vertical suplex onto the steel steps, which is pretty nasty because it was not onto the flat part but onto the step part of the steel steps. When I saw that happening, I was like, there's no way Tasha's taking that, and of course she didn't. It was Masha that ended up taking the spot. Tasha then took advantage of this and dominated large parts of this match, but after some back and forth, Tasha landed a cutter on the ramp, which looked pretty cool, a nicely executed cutter. Tasha then goes for a springboard cutter on the ramp, so from the outside of the ring onto the ramp, because obviously at TNA they had the elevated ramp, but misses, and Masha lands a huge knee to the face, followed by a pile driver onto the ramp, and because it's falls count anywhere, she got the pin. 1, 2, 3, and that means she retains her title in a pretty hard fought match for Masha Slamovich. She was definitely struggling here. I'm not sure I like that. I think Masha should be dominant, but I suppose we had that with Jordynne Grace for quite a while, so a little bit of something different won't hurt anybody. This match was pretty decent, pretty good. A little bit short at times, but still very, very good action. I'm not going to lie. Well executed match. Tasha Steelz is pretty underrated in my opinion. So I gave the match a 3-star rating. I thought it was that good. I don't know if people are going to agree with me, but I thought it was that good. So with that being said, let's move on to the Hardys taking on the system. So we had the Hardy brothers, obviously Matt and, I was about to say Nick, Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy taking on the system, which is Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards. Now, the Hardy Boys are obviously the champions, and this is for the tag titles. Tables match, by the way. There's so much in this match happening. Anyway, tables match. Now, the Hardys started off pretty dominant and take out the system before grabbing a set of tables. So they took them out, and it was, let's get the tables, kind of like, of course, the Dudleys did back in the day, but not that. There was long moments of both teams trying to put each other through tables, but neither team was really successful. But eventually the system lifted up Matt Hardy by his arms, kind of like in Razor's Edge position, and they both put Matt Hardy through the table, putting them 1 point up, essentially. Now, I thought at this point, Matt Hardy is eliminated. I don't know if that's just because that's how the old WWE games used to be, or the current WWE games used to be, or if that was just a bad call on my side, or a bad thoughts on my side. But what actually happened is basically they just got one fall, and Matt was still in the match, but obviously he was down and out for a little while. Matt Hardy then eventually gets himself back in the match and gets up and puts Brian Myers through a table with a twist of fate, making it 1-1. That was a pretty cool spot. Really putting their bodies on the line even at their big age here. Eddie Edwards then, this was an interesting moment. So Eddie Edwards slapped a drink out of a fan's hand at ringside. Okay, the fan did not like this, slapped Eddie Edwards. Eddie Edwards slapped the fan back even harder, and the fan was then escorted from the arena. Now, whether this was a work or a shoot, I don't know. I really could not tell. I do think it was a work because I don't think Eddie Edwards would have reacted the same way he did. I think he would have been a lot more angry if a fan slapped him in the face. That's all I'm saying. I do think that was a bit of a work for sure. Eventually, though, Myers and Edwards drag Jeff Hardy into the crowd and put him on a table underneath a staircase. We already know what's coming, but Matt makes his return with a steel chair and takes them out. At this point, Jeff Hardy collapses underneath the table. I don't know if that should have been the end of the match or not. The table did break a little, but it is what it is. Eventually, they get to the point where they put Eddie Edwards on the table. Jeff Hardy swanton dive from the top of the stairs through the table. Really, really awesome moment that took me straight back to my childhood with Jeff Hardy doing outrageous stuff. I'm glad he didn't get hurt, or I hope he didn't get hurt, but it seems like all was good. Awesome finish to the match. The Hardys retain their tag titles. decent match, exciting match. The Hotties put on a good match for a change. I am surprised by that. They put on a really, really fun match. Pure nostalgia with that finish. I gave the match 3.25 stars at the end of the day because I think it did deserve that. I don't know what you guys think, but I really do think it deserved that. That might have been one of the Hardys' better matches I've watched in a while. And now we move to our main event with Nic Nemeth, the champion, the TNA World Champion, taking on AJ Francis. Top dollar, flop dollar. That was cringe. Anyway, he's taking on flop dollar AJ Francis, who, I'll be honest, surprised the heck out of me in this match. Surprised the heck out of me in this match. Now, I do know he's not as bad as he was in WWE. And I think that's just purely down to presentation and nothing else, and opportunity. So I do know he's doing much better in TNA. But yeah, then out comes Frankie Kazarian after he won his Call Your Shot opportunity. He comes out to ringside and then joins on commentary. I thought he was going to get involved somehow. Apparently not. Anyway, the match started off with some pretty slow offense by AJ Francis, but like I say, it picks up very quickly. Nemeth then lands a power bomb, so he slides through on the turnbuckle, lands a power bomb, so an assisted power bomb essentially, onto AJ Francis, but only manages a 2 count. Nemeth then does 9 standing elbow drops, so back-to-back elbow drops, goes for one off the top rope, doesn't quite get it. AJ Francis catches him and puts him to the mat. Then Navarro, who is AJ Francis' buddy, then distracts Nemeth, allowing Francis to land a spear, but Nemeth kicks out at 2.99. AJ then lands what looks like a Vader bomb, but Nemeth gets his foot on the rope, so making AJ Francis look very strong by getting his foot on the rope rather than just straight up kicking out. Navarro then gets himself ejected after interfering one too many times, and that's when Nemeth lands the danger zone after avoiding a vertical suplex from AJ Francis, but AJ kicks out at 2.99. Now, something that surprised me. AJ Francis did a damn moonsault, and not just any moonsault. A clean-looking middle rope moonsault, which obviously Nic Nemeth got out the way because no one wants to be crushed by a 350-pound man, but he got out the way, clean-looking moonsault by AJ Francis. Nemeth then hits his famouser, but again, that's not enough to get the win. AJ Francis lands a huge chokeslam, but Nemeth rolls out of the ring. Very smart work by Nic Nemeth. And then Nemeth eventually lands a famouser, followed by a super kick, followed by the danger zone, and finally gets the win. So he had to pull out all the stops to beat AJ Francis in this match. Post-match, though, Navarro comes back out and attacks AJ. Navarro comes out, and then him and AJ attack Nemeth, leading to Joe Hendry actually making the save. And of course, at the end, they both reach down for the title, both hold the title. So that is our next match. Obviously, we have Nic Nemeth and Joe Hendry. I think Nic Nemeth's going to win because I think Joe Hendry's contract ends soon, and I think he's going to NXT thereafter. But fun match and decent match by AJ Francis. I am so surprised. Considering it started slow, AJ picked up his pace and picked up his work, and that was good stuff, man. Really, really good stuff. I gave the match a star rating of 3.5 stars, which I did not think I was going to give something like that going into the match. With that being said, the show as a whole maybe perhaps lacked a bit of excitement, a bit of unpredictability, a bit of... Well, I say that. We had flippin' Tessa Blanchard come in. That's pretty unpredictable. But it was just a live, online, like a special event. I don't think this was a pay-per-view. So, still decent show, decent matches. Perhaps lacked maybe that typical X Division match that you would get on this card. We didn't quite get that because, of course, Moose is the champion. But yeah, I enjoyed the show. I enjoyed watching TNA again. Felt that the show was a 3-hour long show, but didn't feel 3 hours, which is always a good thing. And yeah, I'm enjoying doing these reviews, guys. So with that being said, the next review I think is going to be New Japan's Strong Evolved 2024 show. And then thereafter, we're going to go to Starrcade 83. So with that being said, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button. And peace.